Yeah, I've been saying I was rich since I was broke. Yeah, it's a state of mind, you gotta know. Yeah, that it's gonna happen for sure. Had to take my time, take it slow.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Road to Freedom podcast, where we talk about everything business, mindset, life, but most importantly, freedom. Freedom of thought and freedom of pursuit, where you get to learn how to attain everything you've ever wished for, where you also get to open your mind on a variety of topics. My name is Austin Lupercio. We're here with the Professor Brothers and my sister. Say what's crack-a-lackin'.
What's crack-a-lackin'?
What'd you guys do this week? What'd you do this week, Alyssa?
I work with kids. So
How was that?
it's good. I've been gaining a lot of confidence in my new job, so it's been nice.
How are you building confidence in that?
Wait, real quick, what is your job?
I work with kids in the prime time, so 6 to 6. So I have my own group of kids, and I'm learning how to be very patient with myself and with them. And yeah, it's been good. It's fun.
Do you have any crazy stories?
Probably not that I can
Kids
say.
being chaotic? Really? Like that? Just
Can't
say
be
it.
exposing kids like that on the internet.
Just give them a blank name.
Andre, you're like,
I have to think about it.
Do you really think somebody's gonna be listening though? Like
yeah,
some little squeaker?
No, not necessarily, but
Hopefully eventually.
you're
but
subscribed.
I don't know.
kidding.
I don't know if I should.
We should give them a business card.
Here, kids, listen
it-
to the podcast.
Hopefully. I mean, teach them right.
Maybe when they're older.
I'm sure he's on YouTube already.
I work with kindergartners and first graders, so.
Oh,
it's-
first graders too?
Mhm.
I thought it was just like preschoolers or something.
No, first graders.
So what's your experience been like so far working with them?
It was really hard in the beginning. I was really nervous. I've always liked working with kids, always wanted to be a mentor for kids. But like actually doing it is scary. So
Yeah.
I was really nervous in the beginning, but as I kind of develop like my relationship with them,
Mhm.
I start to notice that it's a little bit easier to like get them to listen and stuff. But it's really all about like establishing a relationship with them so they respect you.
Yeah. How do you
'Cause,
do
like,
that?
By showing them that you care. 'Cause I think a lot of the times, especially in school, it's hard when there's a lot of kids to be like very patient with all of them all the time. But basically I feel like the more you actually show them that you care about, like even like when they're sad, not telling them to stop crying, but like show them that you care about how they feel,
Yeah.
it strengthens the relationship, and that's why they respect you. But I feel like that takes longer of a process versus like being really stern with them, like, hey, don't do that, you know.
Right.
Like that works fast. But I'm trying to learn how to like develop like a two-way respect with the kids.
Yeah, plus I'm sure that will cultivate better results by having a
In the-
relationship actually in the long run.
in the long run.
I'm sure
yeah.
that the stern, no rapport method works.
Yeah,
But then
it
after a while,
does.
I'm sure there's some kids that will probably be like, I don't care what you say.
Yeah, and it's not even really about just so they listen to me, it's so they feel valued,
Right.
you know, because some kids don't have that at home. So
Well, I'm sure whatever you're telling them and instructing them, it's for their own good too.
yeah.
So do you think is this helping you like kind of learn how to parent per se?
Future parent.
I definitely think
Like
so.
when you have kids, you're gonna
for sure.
This is like your playground, no pun intended.
Yeah, it's good practice. And honestly, I think for now, it's a blessing to get paid to do that, 'cause I actually really enjoy it. So, and that's also too, like, I know I want to be like, hopefully like a life coach in the future or a mentor.
You want to or you're going to?
I'm going to,
Mm-hmm.
for spirituality and meditation, all that stuff. And I think it'd be really cool to incorporate kids. I feel like a lot of the times people don't really think about that. Like they coach adults, but the kid is the foundation.
Yeah.
That's the foundation. So how cool would that be to like be a meditation and manifestation coach for kids?
Yeah. Yeah, the kids too. The kids are the future, right? So
Yeah.
it's like that's why I mean,
And they're fresh.
yeah, fresh. We already know. I think we
Fresh
talked
from
about
the
this
source.
the last podcast that 0 to 7 years old, your
Yeah.
mind is fully open subconscious. So
Yeah.
you're a walking subconscious. Even though I remember being conscious before that, you know. So I
Mhm.
mean, there's obviously still a percentage of consciousness.
Yeah.
But even thinking back, I don't really have too many memories per se. They're
But
more
you
just
just know.
stored deeply in the hardware of my mind that I
Mhm.
don't even really recall.
Mhm.
Like I remember some of the stuff in kindergarten. I remember some of the people in kindergarten, probably like the high emotional states I
Yeah.
remember, you know.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a little foggy, you know, almost
Mhm.
like it's not even there.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's why too. Have you seen too about how they're like, well, Florida actually didn't allow this, but I'm sure in California it's definitely like this. But they're teaching like kids like transgender shit in
Yeah.
kindergarten and stuff like that. Is that how it is where you're at?
Not really.
No,
Not
not really, or
I'm not
Not
in
at
the,
all.
I'm not in the classroom during the day, but from what I can tell, not really. So
Yeah.
At least for California, I'm surprised. I don't really hear the kids talking about stuff like that.
What do you think? What is your opinion on that? Do you think they should teach that? To be real.
I think that the focus should be more on not necessarily that, but just teaching like kids how to respect each other and like
Okay, well, that's not what we're saying. We're talking about specifically transgender, teaching them about anything sexual, whether it's transgender, fucking whatever you want to call it, right? Anything sexual, should that be taught in a kindergarten, 1st grade, 5th grade, 6th grade? Should that shit be taught in school at that time? What the
not necessarily. Like I said, what I was trying to say is I think that the bottom line, if there is something being taught about that, it should just be to I'm trying to think of how to say it, because I don't personally think
just say how you feel. Do you guys does it sound staticky in your shit too?
No.
Oh, it's my fucking. Like we were saying, okay, so I mean, why is it so difficult for you to make a decision whether that should be taught or not?
Okay, so I guess that would be a different topic, I guess. I don't see anything wrong with like being transgender.
That's not what we're saying.
I know, but I'm trying to explain.
We're not saying that's good or bad.
I'm not
We're
saying that.
should that be taught in school, in kindergarten and 1st grade?
I don't think that should be the focus, no.
So no, it shouldn't.
No. It shouldn't be like a main topic. But what if there's
Should it be a topic at all?
But what if there's like a kid in the class?
So let me ask you this, since you're not saying no, why should it be put in place for kids?
I'm not saying it. I don't, maybe it's not the school's place to be the one teaching. I think it should be up to the parents whether or not what they want the kids to know about that, since it is more about your own identity. I feel like that should be something that the parents should teach. But then at the end of the day, if your parent isn't teaching you about it, then I don't know.
Does
that
mean
mean why?
No, I'm not saying. And then in that case, it should be the school's place.
So you're saying, what you're telling me is that a kid should go in, a parent should sit their kid down and say, Jimmy, you're a boy and you could possibly be transgender.
No.
You could be a woman. Just depends on how you feel.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just never really I haven't been in that position to talk to kids about that, so I don't really know exactly what my stance would be on that.
Okay, let's say hypothetically you had a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Would you allow that, or would you think that's fine, or would you mind that? Let's say that they are teaching your kid sexual stuff, transgender and other sexual
all
things
the
as well.
above.
All the above.
I would want it to be up to me, because I know that
It is up to you at the end of the day. So with it being up to you, what would you choose?
for me to be the one
For
to
you-
teach my kids.
And would you
Okay.
teach them at 6, 7 years old about transgender and sexual, anything sexual?
Probably not until like say they started asking me questions about it. Then obviously I know it's something to be talked about.
Yeah.
And
Well-
just so they know, because that is a culture in this world. So like if they're asking me questions about it, then
What's a culture? Saying transgender?
Mhm.
I don't think it's a culture in this world. I think it's a very small percentage of what it really is.
well then it's a small culture.
I think it's this, is that I think that's like saying me, I don't even know, liking some bullshit and then just pushing it out in the media and making it a big deal. I think that a lot of the LGBT and all that stuff, great. If you want to be whatever you want to be, it's none of my business. And nor it's the government's business. However, it's none of the government's business and the school's business to be teaching my kid anything sexual, let alone anything about gender, transgender, anything like that to my child.
Yeah, I
and here's
understand
the thing where they're overstepping now. A lot of these school systems, a lot of the schools, the public schools that we pay in our tax dollars, everybody gets paid. So we're the ones who are paying for these teachers, for these school systems.
Yeah.
They're teaching our kids these things, and they're starting to indoctrinate these kids and starting to breed these kids into thinking sexually. Now, has that happened when we were kids? Do you remember being in kindergarten or first grade, anything regarding transgender, left, right, up, down, whatever the hell? That's what I'm saying. So now we don't even know, we can't even conceptualize in quotes, or the typical average person doesn't even know what's going to come about in the next 16 to 18 years.
Yeah.
So this shit's not okay. We're going to do this as an experiment.
Yeah.
So why are we teaching kids about LGBT and transgender bullshit? Once again, whoever wants to do that, they can do that. But there's no room for this. I just don't want to hurt any feelings. None of that bullshit. Because why are you going to teach kids about transgender and how to be a different, or it's okay to be a different gender when they're only 5 or 6 years old?
Yeah.
They're barely even conscious.
Yeah.
Yet we're telling them and planting seeds into their mind that it's okay to be the opposite gender. Doesn't that create massive confusion?
I think so. And that's the thing too. I feel like when kids are, I don't know, I guess I can't speak on it because I've never gone through that, but I feel like a lot of them know at a young age. Like if there's like a kid that, like, you can just kind of like tell sometimes that if there's a little boy and he has a little bit more feminine energy.
Okay, but does that mean that we start indoctrinating him and saying,
no.
hey, Jimmy, I know you're a little feminine, so it's okay to be a woman?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying at the end of the day, I think what's important is to, I don't think it's our job to be teaching kids that, like, to that extent when they're little, but I think the bottom line is to be like,
it sounds like there's some leeway in
a little
your
bit,
ideology.
not in school though. I'm talking like if I were a parent.
Yeah,
if my kid
that's
was
up to them.
If my kid was asking me about a little kid that like had like a little boy that had more feminine energy, I would want my kid to be not mean to him because he's different, you know? Like I would want to teach my kids to be like not just like open and like curious and ask questions
it
about.
Sounds like you would teach your kid respect.
Yeah, exactly.
Because,
Respect for other human beings and not like, well, you're different than me, so I don't like you, or like I'm gonna talk down about you because you're different.
Let me ask you this: what would you say is something? It can be any topic. What is something that you avidly disagree with?
Anything I disagree with?
It can be anything that you hardcore right now, top of mind. I do not. 100% opposite. Don't like that.
That's hard. I feel like I'm a very open-minded person, so it's very difficult.
Okay. So let's just make up something.
Just things that are like just blatantly wrong that like is against my morals. Then that's something that I would disagree with.
Right. So at the end of the day, let's just say whatever. Let's just label it something. Let's just say
child abuse.
Child abuse.
Okay. Yeah, that's wrong.
Well, what would you do if the school is teaching that it's okay for child abuse?
Then I would be pissed.
You wouldn't like that, right?
No.
Wouldn't we all agree that school should teach our kids math, science, and how to read and how to write?
For sure. Yeah.
And leaving out all the fucking bullshit about sexual. That's none of the school's businesses to be teaching anything in regards to sexual nature at all.
I think it should be the parents.
It should be the parents.
The parents' choice.
And think about too, the only time that we had sex ed was in 8th grade.
Barely, but yeah.
So now they're teaching it in first kindergarten. It's okay to be transgender and talking about anything sexual. So this is what I mean about politics should be completely left out. That's like, for example, somebody either teaching your kid how to be fully Republican or how to be fully Democrat. And saying, little Jimmy, Republicans are really bad, or little Jimmy, Democrats are really bad, whatever it is, despite politics, we're just using it as an example. And why would you want your kid being taught any of that stuff?
Yeah, and I think that's what I was trying to say before is like, I think schools already kind of try, but like just teaching kids respect for each other. Yeah. I think that's what should be taught in schools, and it can be a little like a, you know, like a drop, because there are people nowadays, especially in California, like that's, California has like the biggest population of LGBTQ people. So I think it's okay to like mention it and like. I mean, I'm just saying what I think, but as far as like being respectful, you know, of those people. Yeah. But I
don't think it should be mentioned, taught, none of that shit.
I think,
like I said, at the end of the day, it just comes down to respecting people.
Yeah.
Like, there's gonna be different groups of people that live different lifestyle choices, and we just gotta respect everybody.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think though, like certain groups have to be mentioned.
Yeah.
It's like saying,
because there's so many
teaching
groups.
about Mexican people.
Groups.
Mexican people are like this, or black people are like white people are like same type of shit.
Yeah.
You don't do that shit.
Just common human respect, period. You know, people are going to be different, think different than you, and that's going to be okay. You know. Yeah. In that regard, that's not overstepping bounds. And I think
Yeah.
the issue is that Austin's trying to highlight, and potentially ask you your opinion about is not necessarily if LGBT, whatever, like transgender talk, all that stuff should be taught in general to their kids
Yeah.
in general, because that's the parent's job. Now, if you want to teach
Yeah.
your kids about murder, I don't advise for that, but it is your child and it is your choice.
Would you say maybe I think what would be I guess like a helpful thing is not necessarily teaching kids about that, but having a specific resource center for kids who are like that.
Sure.
So in case there's parents that aren't teaching kids about that, if they wanted to, they can go.
Yeah, let's do that. But let's also
support.
Let's
for
also
kids.
put something else on the opposite too. Let's do some kind of like heterosexual something.
Yeah.
It's the same type of shit. If we're gonna allow LGBT left, right, then we
Yeah.
need to go ahead and do something on the opposite end too.
You could do that
Because
too.
what will happen, just like how it was in our high school, when they start doing these LGBT programs, they start to push that shit and act like it's normal. Now, what I can tell you, if we were to look at stats, it's like 1 to 4% of the entire population. So why are we cultivating this entire culture for 1 to 4% of the people that exist in America? Does that really make any sense? Why are we teaching these kids about all kinds of shit about transgender and mutating their mind for 1 to 4% of people? It doesn't make any sense. Now, what I tend to find as well is that a lot of these people who are in quotes transgender tend to do it for the wrong reasons. Now, I'm not saying that's the case entirely, but a lot of them too, it seems as though from what I've observed, it seems like, for example, Bruce Jenner. To me, I've heard this theory before, this ideology that it's possible that Bruce Jenner transitioned to Caitlyn Jenner, where the fuck he is now, because of the Kim Kardashians. And he actually was he was an Olympian before, a man, high testosterone. It takes a man to do that shit, what he was doing, right?
An ultimate man almost.
Yeah. And so when his kids and his wife or whoever else got popular, this is a theory, I'm not saying this is the case, but he wanted that attention again. So he's seen their beauty and all that stuff. So he said, fuck it, I'm going to transition to Caitlyn Jenner. So and we know too personally too that there's certain stories. We know too personally that there's like these people who tend to not be like, tend to be not like a kind of like a in quotes outcast. They feel as though they're an outcast and they transition to join this group. Like they become the opposite sex in quotes. They identify as the opposite gender fluid and up down, because it makes them feel special, since there's this entire push to make this LGBT thing so big and vivid.
But I don't personally think it's like the people's fault though. That
It's not.
Yeah, that's the.
But it's the people's fault who don't fight against it.
It's the people's fault for allowing it.
We're being so lenient, saying, "Oh, it's okay, don't worry.
Trust the government.
Go ahead and indoctrinate my kid with these ideologies."
That's the thing, is I don't think the government should have any part
Shouldn't.
of it. Yeah, and that the media kind of does play a hand with the pushing the messages.
So it sounds like from Austin's original question that he asked you, you don't agree with that, because you just said it yourself. You don't agree that the government should be involved in any of that.
The government shouldn't know.
So basically,
it should not be taught in school at all.
So it should not be taught in school at all.
No, and that's what I was saying. I think it should be up to the parents.
Well, I think right now you're finally taking a stand.
I haven't really.
I understand you had to
I'm like working through it as you're asking me questions.
Most definitely.
Because this isn't.
I think these are important questions to ask.
Yeah.
Especially for the newer generation, because what I can tell you is that people our age don't like talking about this shit. A lot of people are
taboo. It's taboo.
It's not hard though. How hard is it?
For
we
just
had this conversation right now, but you know why? It's because there's this ideology push to political correctness.
Yeah.
And you know what? This is real facts. Is that political correctness is a part of communist subversion. So they create this societal bullshit where you can't say certain things because they want to control the thoughts of people.
Yeah.
You get in quotes canceled.
Yeah.
Now, what's a big trend right now is that a lot of people aren't giving a fuck about being canceled anymore. A lot of more people are coming out and speaking out because we should have the freedom of thought. We should have the freedom of truth.
Oh, yeah.
And just as somebody else thinks that they can be LGBT or whatever, I can have the right to disagree with it.
Yeah.
And I should have the absolute rights to have the same exact pedestal or box to stand up on as everybody else to say the way that I feel.
And that's the thing, is I understand that, and I feel like I have a big heart, and my heart is very open, and I'm always understanding of both sides.
For sure.
And that's why I'm saying I understand you as much as if someone else was explaining to me, I'd want to try to understand their side too.
Yeah, well, that's like me too. For example, somebody who disagrees with me, for example, let's just say somebody says that the entrepreneur route isn't the best way to get rich. The best way to get rich is to go into McDonald's and work your way up the corporate ladder.
Yeah.
I'm not going to agree with him, but I can fully understand his perspective, you know.
Yeah.
But now it comes down to morals and standards. What are we teaching our kids, and what are we teaching the population?
Yeah.
It's not this free willy-nilly, because the free willy-nilly has gotten us to where we're at today, where people are weak and nobody wants to stand up. And the more political correctness there is, the less people have the possibility to think, because what you tend to learn is that there's a lot of people with a I'm trying to think, like a herd mentality.
Yeah.
And there's like actual psychological statistics behind this, that a lot of people, especially women too, because women tend to be more agreeable. But I mean, and honestly, there's probably men and women now are pretty much in the same boat. But there's a lot of people who just go with the flow of things, because they don't want to upset anybody. And I don't want to have my own opinion, because I don't want to ruffle any feathers or anything like that. But I say it's our duty, especially as men, to ruffle those fucking feathers, because we need to have those tough conversations, because the longer that we don't, the worse that our society gets, you know, and the worse it's up to our kids too. So think about this: the more lenient that we are, our kids get fucked up, and then our kids. It's gonna be a compound effect: kids. And then it seems like a lot of chaos is going on, which tends to play into favor for the governments and the people. And here's another thing I can say too, is that the government is only one. I don't know if I should be saying this, but the government's only one part of the control. They're only used as a tool for control. Politicians are all part of it, but they're not the ones who are on top. There's people who control the governments. I don't know who they are, but this is definitely a fact. So this is my opinion. I think that a lot of this stuff is pushed, like the LGBT and the confusion of the sexes, because they want people in a chaotic state, because they want them confused. They want them weak at the end of the day, because the more that we can create chaos and confusion in the individual, the more that they are easily controlled, and the more that we can control a society, which is where we're at today. Why are so many people weak? Now, the reason why, let me tell you why this too is why it's so important to talk about this right now, is because just like we talked about in the last episode about where we're going as a society in our economy right now, which is we're going towards hard times. We are 100%, 1000% going towards hard times. So this soft bullshit ideology is no longer going to work. And we need men, and we need leaders, both men and women, to come in today and start giving the real, raw motherfucking truth. Because if we don't, a lot of motherfuckers are going to be left in the dust. And I'm telling you, that's what they want. That's what they want. So that's why with me in this podcast, I don't care, because I do care for the people. That's what I care about, which is why I'm going to speak out, because I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of people who agree with what I'm saying. Now, there's obviously going to be a lot of people who disagree with this as well, but despite that, it's important to create conversation, to create polarity in thought and ideology, because if we can get somebody else, I want there to be both sides on the table, both people, so we can both come to a truth at the end of the day.
And that's kind of like what we've talked about before, like when we were talking in the car, is I think there's a difference between the people and then the government and how they portray or their messages and what they're pushing. So like, even though like I don't identify with either political group,
Neither do
but I do think that I separate so let's say like liberal people, I separate the liberal people versus the liberal government. So I think like the liberal people, I think a lot of them have big hearts, and like
for sure,
I just think that the government takes advantage of their big hearts.
Definitely.
And what they push. So that's why I see as two different things.
Yeah.
So like when people are talking about like liberal and like negative things, I think a lot of the time they're talking about the government that maybe is put us either side, you know, but I think it's the people are different than the government.
Yeah.
I think the government's so twisted, and
it is.
Just it's so wrong that they not take care of the opposite. They like, it's just so evil that they take advantage of the good hearts of the people.
Yeah.
So that's why like when we're talking about like LGBTQ and what's being pushed versus the people who are like just trying to figure out life, trying to figure out what makes them happy, and like, oh, well, maybe this might make me happy, this might make me feel full. Like everyone's just trying to figure it out and how to be happy and how to.
I think the issue is not necessarily gays at all. You know, it's not gays or their choice. It's the fact too. It just what the government or entities that are higher or more in power than us that regulate us allow to go down. And a big portion is in elementary schools, you know? And like we said, why is it the government's place to speak and teach sexuality amongst our children, you know? And let's say you said 5 or 6 years old, that's not right, you know, because they're extra young and impressionable, right? But even at 12 years old, 14 years old. Is it the government's job even then? No.
Not at all.
So it almost doesn't matter the age. Yes, of course, a younger age obviously is going to be more profound, that it's not going to be acceptable, you know? But at the same time, though, it's the government overstepping the bounds of parents because of weak parents allowing it and coming in and teaching your child whatever they'd like.
Yeah, I would like
know?
for it to be my job.
Right.
To teach
It's
my
not,
kids
that's,
about
it's
that.
not only you would like, it is your job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the government's job, the school system's job, to be teaching them anything other than fucking
School.
math, science, reading, writing.
And I feel
That's
like
it.
they don't even do a good job of that. Like, there's
They
so
don't.
much more that we could be learning in school, like taxes, or like kind of what our school did.
Yeah.
We were learning how to public speak and like
Yeah.
network, and like I think we should be focused on doing that too, versus
Definitely.
like something more, I guess, social based.
But
Well,
what Austin's trying to say, though, is that he highlighted a big portion of the piece, which it doesn't make sense, but it really does make sense when you zoom out and look at the big
Yeah,
picture,
what
you
they're
know?
what the government is trying to do.
They're trying to demoralize society to weaken society so
Yep.
that way they can control and do whatever they like. That is their goal, and that's why they're into these schools teaching the young people
Yep.
these things. You know what I mean?
And if we don't speak up now too, if we don't start all collecting together and start having these fucking these difficult conversations, then our kids are gonna get fucked, and so are our kids, our grandkids as well.
Not only that too, but there's a lot of people I guarantee that feel the same way
Exact
we
way.
do, but
Yep.
they're scared to speak out
Yep.
just because what we said.
Yep.
It's taboo to speak out against these things. So
Yep.
us speaking out here is hopefully going to influence people to show it's okay to speak against the narrative, period.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, it's just showing people that it's okay to have open conversation about
Exactly,
it.
of course.
You know?
An
Like-
open conversation is needed.
Yeah, like it's okay, because that's the thing, is I feel like even someone on the other side of the spectrum, of kind of like what you guys are saying, I feel like people aren't open. Like, they only want to hear from people who
Yeah,
feel the
biased.
same
Yeah.
as them. And that's what I'm saying.
Confirmation bias.
Confirmation,
yeah.
that's what I was thinking.
I'm open-minded, so I'm open to hearing.
Of course.
I don't say I'm on either, but I'm open to hearing
Me too.
both. You
Because
know?
why? It's because at the end of the day, we're about the truth.
and at
Yeah.
the end of the day, we're about the people.
Yep.
So the people need to join together, because
To
who
talk about
really
it.
is the enemy? It's not the opposite
Nope.
side of your political view. It's the government.
Yep.
It's the government.
That's why united we stand to
Div-
me is
Divided we fall.
Yeah, united as the people. F the government. We're not
Yeah.
talking about the government here. We're talking about literally the people of this country.
Yep.
You know?
That's why Austin and I talked in the other podcast, which
Mhm.
if you haven't seen it,
We
you
should
know what
go
to do.
watch
Go
it.
check it
Yeah.
out so you can see what we're talking about. But we were talking about guns, and we were talking about liberal ideology. Let's
Yeah.
say, quote unquote. I don't like to box things, but let's just say, to make it simple, basically they're against guns. And Austin and I were saying that we could see that their intention is actually just as good as ours.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
say
We're about
Safety.
safety.
Yeah.
It's the
Yes.
government that's the issue. So it's not the people that are
Yes.
the issue.
Yes.
It's the
It's not the
government.
gay community per se directly. It's the government using the gay
Yep.
That's
community
what I'm saying.
as a pawn
That's the horrible part.
And that's
to
so
demoralize
evil to
society and to pit people against each other
Because
and
we're
fight
all
each other.
fighting
Yep.
for our own morals. Like,
So
the
that's why
things that we feel are
Of
good.
course.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to highlight this aspect so people eventually can wake up and basically join together with their neighbor regardless of their viewpoints
Yeah.
and band together for the people, for the greater good of the people specifically,
Yeah. That's dangerous for
That's
the
dangerous.
government.
And
That's what
why?
they don't want.
Why are they teaching 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds extreme shit they shouldn't be? Is because they're worried about that and they want to use anything they can, get them young, influence their mind,
Yeah.
make them weak,
That's
so
the-
that way they can be controlled.
That's the bad part too, I'd say, about Donald Trump getting into office, is that it created massive polarity where it's like now it's even more extreme,
It's
left versus
extreme.
right. And then we have dumbass Biden. I had to hold myself back there, but yeah, dumbass Biden, which is, this guy's a sellout too.
That was
let's
you
look at
being
the-
polite, huh?
that's- yeah,
Dumbass
being
Biden means that's
being
you being
polite.
polite.
Yeah. What's the word when you dementia Biden?
Yeah.
Dude, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, you can see that this guy is senile. 100% senile. And this is a leader of our country. You know what I'm
A
saying?
doorknob can tell that guy's seen now.
It should
Yeah.
be his sound.
Oh yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I'm saying about us too, having like these conversations
Yeah.
is because we need to all come together and come up to some kind of fucking conclusion, because it's not the government's job to come save us.
Yeah.
It's the people's job to come
Yeah.
and come
Right.
and fucking talk. And what I can say too is that I think it's important to have this conversation, especially people around our
Dude,
age.
you ripped the words out of my mouth.
Because nobody around our fucking age is having these fucking conversations.
And not only that too, but people of our demographic, our age range, are typically towards the narrative of the common theme.
Definitely.
What they want you to buy, fresh out of college, indoctrination camp.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So they're definitely like, you know, easily, they already have their ideals based on everything. So it's definitely important for us to speak out, all three of us, you know, so that way we can show people our age, younger people in general, that it's okay to think different.
Yeah. And I would say too, like, I feel like when we say speak out, it's just like we're just having a conversation too, you know, for the people to understand and see us to have this dialogue too, you know. Another thing too I was going to say as well is that I know that growing up, like I don't know if it's still the case. You already know it's just going
I
on.
don't know. That's why I'm like, where is it going?
I'm just curious your opinion in regards to like feminism and like women empowerment. Like, what's your ideology for that now?
Well, we kind of talked about that. You gotta ask me questions because you're asking me to like the cloud is big.
Let me ask you this. I'll ask you. So, what do you think? Do you think that there is such thing as gender roles? So, do you think there's roles for men and do you think there's roles for women, or do you think both can do everything that the other gender can do?
So if you asked me this question like a year ago, I probably would have a different answer.
What would your answer be real quick a year ago?
I'd probably say yes, which I think they can if they really want to, but honestly, do both. But, well, I would have said that last year. Yeah, I would have said, that they can. Which they probably can. Like, if I wanted to do something, I could try.
Yeah, literally, yes. Of course.
But I think because of how I've been getting into spirituality, at the end of the day, it's more about feminine energy and masculine energy. Yep. So, like, even, like, between, like two lesbian women, a lot of the time it's a woman that's masculine energied and a woman that's feminine energied.
Yeah, yesterday I seen in a parking lot, I glanced up from my phone, and I seen these two women get out of the car, and there was one woman who's feminine, dressed in a feminine nature, and then there was another woman, but she was dressed as a guy, you know, which is obviously like typically how it works, but it just goes to show that there's the polarities there, the energy
even amongst the gay community, the polarities are still in play, because it's a law of the universe.
And that's why I understand that community, because to me it's all about energy, and like I learned that a lot of the times our souls gravitate towards a certain energy, so no matter like what we were born in this life, if your soul is more gravitational towards like a masculine energy, then a lot of the times that's like you know. But yeah, I think for me, as I'm like learning how to embrace, because since I was growing up around I have 3 brothers and a dad and then my mom, so I was around a lot of masculine energy growing up. So I kind of embodied masculine energy because I had not a lot of feminine energied examples besides my mom. But my mom wasn't really girly that much. A little bit, like,
because she was, mom and dad were back then were focused on survival,
right? Not like expressing herself.
When you're focused on survival, you're focused on making bread, which is in your masculine purpose.
Which goes to you can't create when you're in survival mode.
Right, which is why too you tend to find that when the man, this is just my opinion, when the man and woman both are focusing on getting the bread at a high degree, typically that relationship doesn't work out because the woman is so focused on her masculine purpose that when she goes back to a relationship, it's 2 masculine people. So it doesn't work out typically.
And that's what I was going to say is, like, now that I'm like learning about like feminine energy and trying to embrace my own, and I'm stepping out of that masculine energy, I'm learning how much more important it is for me to want all like the feminine things, like to be taken care of, and like to want someone that will take care of me, and like I would love to cook for someone and take care of someone. I feel like those are all like feminine energy things. So the more I lean into my feminine energy, then I have no desire to do the things that I did, or like wear the pants in the relationship.
Right.
You know,
I think too, like, it's important to highlight as well how we grew up as well, because that's not something you would say 5 years ago.
No,
it'd be the absolute opposite.
For sure, you know? I'd be like, if I wanted to go into the military, I would, you know, which I think women can. And some women have more masculine energy, and that's their innate state. But for me, the only reason I had masculine energy was because I didn't know, I was never taught how to embrace my feminine energy. But that's where I always wanted to be. I desired it, but I didn't know how to do it.
And you tend to find too, like, for example, when you're not in layman's in your natural energy, you tend to be in disarray. Like
Yeah.
you're not
It doesn't
like aligned.
feel right.
It doesn't
Yeah.
feel right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why, like, for example, like when you guys see me in the car and I'm just like staring straight when we're getting lit,
That's
you know,
your masculine energy.
it's just typically sometimes I mean I'm like thinking about what I gotta do for work. I'm already thinking about we're
Yeah.
going home. I'm like, okay, when I get to the house,
yeah.
I'm about to cook something up on the computer, you know.
Yeah, and
So
we all
I'm thinking
have-
about that. But when I'm by
Yeah.
myself, typically I'm like hitting the Dougie.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. You guys didn't know that?
No.
I mean, I'm not like like getting lit in the car, but like I'm like
He's doing the
definitely.
sprinkler.
Imagine-
He's doing the sprinkler.
Imagine
again.
us. I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, you guys see me just pull up, or you guys randomly run into me at a
What the
stoplight randomly.
Oh, wow. No.
That's awesome.
No, but yeah, I mean, if you're in disalignment, I mean, tend to with me, the more I observe myself, the more I tend to see that I have definitely more on the polarized, like masculine side. And it was funny because obviously we're twins for the people who don't know, but when I had posted a clip of us, the one that she replied to,
Yeah.
and it was funny because you can see I'm like straight and I'm like the way that I'm conversating, I'm making some kind of point, but I'm very like stoic. And then you were like on the side like this. So it made me think like it was funny because we're twins and you can see the direct polarity. Yeah.
Masculine
Yeah.
energy.
From the same womb, you know,
Yeah.
from the same time.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting to see that, you know, the different dichotomies.
And I think that's honestly why we were born
Yeah.
like as twins, because we were talking about like stuff in the car and like talking from like Austin was telling me a man's perspective and I was telling him a woman's
Yeah.
perspective, and we were kind of like almost like understanding like and like now I can apply that knowledge to like because
your
we're talking about like
relationships or-
romantic relationships, so like now I can apply that because I have an understanding of the masculine energy, you know.
Yeah.
The male
And then the
perspective.
opposite.
Same age too.
Yeah, and Austin was understanding like what women like, because I was explaining what women want, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, like kind of one thing.
I think as far as the thing that Alyssa was highlighting too about women going to the military and things like that, of course they're capable of doing that, you know.
Mhm.
Are they the most happy doing that? Probably on a majority
Some
scale.
of them, the masculine.
Yeah, if
Right.
they have
Exception
masculine
to the
energy.
rule.
Right.
Yeah.
Exception to the rule.
Yeah.
Which is what
But
I was leading into next.
Yeah.
It's most likely going to be the exception to the rule, which is
Yeah.
a small percentile.
Yeah.
You know, but the majority of the percentage is probably going to stay wanting to lean into their feminine purpose, their
Yeah.
feminine energy,
And
you know?
I think that's why there's a lot of men in the military. It's not because that's just what it always was, but as I learned, like, in masculine energy is to protect.
Yeah.
I
So
think
that's
too,
why-
let me ask you a question. Reason why I ask you, Alyssa, of course, is because you're female. Not
Yeah.
to
And I
like
think
hone in on to you specifically.
It brings
but
in polarity
definitely
into the conversation.
and it gives too like the viewers another like side to hear, you know, and
Yeah.
just shows us our wholesomeness in general.
Mm.
But in general, as far as women and men, do you think like let's say civil war breaks out, right?
Yep.
I'm not trying to forecast. Civil war breaks out
predictive programming?
in the future. In the future, right? And let's say everything goes to shit. Have you seen Walking Dead? Yes, you have.
Yeah.
Okay, you can get it.
Unfortunately.
Put it that way.
It's a good show.
It's somewhere. It is a good.
It
show.
was a good show, and then it got really
commercialized.
It got watered
commercialized.
down.
So
Damn.
bad. The first,
like 5 seasons. is
yeah,
pretty
we're
good.
great. Yeah.
It was like family tradition.
Yeah.
I
Anyways,
can't believe the wife died. Remember?
Dude, everybody dies.
You're right.
yeah, it's true.
But
Remember when the
anyways,
Asian guy died?
That's
Oh,
when I
no,
stopped
Glenn?
watching.
Bro,
Yeah.
that was
Glenn?
tough.
I always said if Glenn or Daryl ever died, I'm not watching it. The episode that Glenn died, I stopped watching it.
Wait, he started stepping up in his masculine purpose. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Because he
Glenn?
was kind of like soft at first, but then
Yeah.
he started strapping up them boots and
Yeah.
and then got the girl. Remember?
Protector, yeah.
Anyways, but back to the point. So what I was saying, let's say it's a situation like Walking Dead, but shootouts and guns and everyone's fighting in the store. You seen the toilet paper?
Yeah.
Imagine that, but like
Yeah.
in real
Food.
time when everything is going down.
Water, yeah.
Do you think that if shooting is going down, do you think women are stepping up, grabbing guns and dumping back?
I don't think they'd want to,
Dumping
no.
back.
Or do you think most likely they would hide and retreat maybe behind a man or behind a wall or behind something? you
Yeah,
what
I
mean?
know.
Some protective energy or some protective person
Yeah.
Yeah.
who's going to be in the
exactly.
masculine.
What do you
energy.
think, Alyssa? Or do you think too the women are equally going to step up and let's get them, boys?
No. I guess I can only speak for myself, but
Right, from your opinion. I'd
yeah,
say.
that's the thing. As I'm growing older, I'm realizing how much more I want someone to feel like I'm protected. So I think that in the case, say I'm in a relationship where I feel protected, I would be like, all right, you
Okay,
got.
from your point, but what do you think the majority of women would do if you would have had to throw a theory on it?
Yeah, no, probably the same.
Do you think they'd equally step up?
I'd say if we're all, the women that have feminine energy like me, no.
Yeah, I'm saying in the sense that are like equally step up, like
Yeah, no.
face danger head on,
No.
put themselves at risk, put death on the line for the protection of others.
Yeah, I'd assume we would probably want the men to do that.
Yeah, I'm saying as a majority, what do you think?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yes. Yeah, I'd want to be protected.
And why?
I think,
Because
I think they would lie and say that. I think some of them would lie. The feminists would say, no, I'd
No.
grab the Glock and let off, But
right. And I'm sure some
But the
can.
thing is, like,
Yeah.
that's not to kill. At least for a woman, that is not in my. I don't even like killing bugs, and I think that
Exactly.
may be just my feminine energy. I just don't want to kill.
Coming down to the point, there's male energy and female
Right.
energy, masculine energy and
Masculine and
feminine
feminine.
energy, you know what I mean? And we
Yeah.
have to align, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because these things are natural, and we have
Yeah.
to align with our naturalness, you know? Obviously, there's exceptions to the rule, X, Y, and Z,
Yeah.
but I'm saying as a majority,
Yeah.
generally, we have to align with our purpose, period,
Yeah.
our energies.
Yeah, I think in like a hypothetical situation, I would be the one stepping in if it was the last case. Like
Right.
he was over
All
here
the men are
protecting-
dead.
Yeah,
Just
or
kidding.
like I like it's something's happening to me and I have they're not there. Then I would, but otherwise I would hope that I'm with someone that would want to protect me and my kids.
Yeah,
So-
and two, like what I was thinking about earlier was that that there is definitely 100% like gender roles. Like
Yeah,
men do
yeah.
one thing and women do another thing. Now, there's obviously exceptions to the rule where that opposite gender will do what the masculine thing does and the feminine thing does or whatever. But at the end of the day, what I think is that I think that women need to be. I think I shouldn't say need to be because I'm not trying to trigger people, but this is I'm just gonna be straight up in how I think. This is my philosophy. Is that I think that more women need to be sitting more in their feminine nature, like more nurturing, more like taking care of the house and all that stuff. But people call that misogyny. Now I think that's the truth. This doesn't mean that I don't think they should have their own purpose, but I think that it's the man's duty and the man's job to go out and to hunt and to get certain things, to get resources for the family.
Yeah.
And two, it's funny because a lot of what I've heard a lot of the times that women who are in their masculine purpose or they're super stressed out and why the fuck would a woman want to do what a man does? Because a man's life isn't fucking easy. A man's life is really hard. And what I can say too is that a man's life you're consistently stressed because I should say a real fucking man, not a bitch boy who's fucking playing video games all day or whatever.
Traditional masculine,
where you're gathering resources for your family, especially for somebody who hasn't been given anything. Like with me, my main focus, I'm always thinking about the family all the time. What I gotta do today to like push forward, and I know that if I fuck up, then it's fucked for the family. So I'm like that pressure is on me, but it's a good kind of pressure for me. Now there's times too, like for example, when I'm like not successful in a certain moment, or I'm doing some kind of failure type of like section of my life, I feel like horrible because I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do? I'm at rock bottom again. How am I gonna serve the family? What the fuck am I gonna do? But it's like a crazy feeling on your shoulders. Now imagine too, like for example with dad or with any man who has an entire family, and you're strapped down with money. What the fuck are you gonna do? You can't go to sleep. You can't chill and watch the fucking news casually. You can't go and enjoy a baseball game because you're fucking focused on paying the bills. Because if you don't, the lights are gonna shut off. Now, does a woman really want the pressure of that?
I don't.
Definitely not. Definitely not. But a lot of women act like they do until they find out what the fuck is up.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure they're capable of doing it.
Yeah,
But
and
are they happy doing it?
Definitely
You know
not.
what I'm saying?
What I was gonna say too is I think that we need to like modernize this, like, because I think when people think about like gender roles, they're thinking about how
1950s.
yes, and like women didn't have the same rights as men did. So
Yeah.
we're not. I don't think that we're talking about how we should go back
No.
to that.
You're talking about two separate things, like law
Yes.
and
And
gender roles.
That's the thing is like that's why I think feminism is so big now is because women just want to feel like we're valued. Because back then I feel like at least how we learned about history is that women were like men were like the ones that got to vote and make decisions, and like when women just wanted to feel valued. But as you learn about like feminine and masculine energy, you realize they're both equally as important.
Well, think about it. It's interesting too. Where did we learn about this feminist stuff about being disempowered and all that? Where did it come from? School, which is taught by the government curriculum. Now, one could say that this was all intentionally done, where they pushed feminism to begin to separate the masculine and feminine. And here's the thing too, is that their goal is to to control, once again, as many people as possible. And the way they do that is by controlling the next generation, the kids. So if you can figure out a way to, in quotes, empower women to become more masculine, that separates the man and the woman and the family, the nuclear family. And when you do that, the mom is out and she's hustling and bustling. The dad's out and he's hustling and bustling. So fuck, who's taking care of the kids? The government. Now the government indoctrinates the kid.
Said perfect.
So that's why too they destroy the nuclear family intentionally, because a strong family makes strong men too, and strong men make a strong nation. Strong nation isn't easily controlled. So if we can figure out some kind of way and push feminism in quotes, that's the thing. It goes back to what we were discussing earlier. They take advantage of people's good hearts.
I feel like
how fucked up is that?
Yeah, it's so terrible. And I feel like now too, when women want to be stay-at-home moms, it almost is like looked down
Yeah,
upon.
she's dude,
like she's lazy.
Because they
or
warped it on
something.
purpose.
I could
They
even
warp it.
I can imagine like a girl too, like I like in a group setting, like I just want to work, and her voice is shaking and stuff because she doesn't want to say that. But it's like the fuck,
I remember like recently I like kind of had like the epiphany that like I would love to be a stay-at-home mom, but I was kind of like scared to like talk about it. 'Cause I'm like, I don't want. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what people think, but
the political correctness bullshit.
No, I just think that like people almost think that that's like, oh, like you don't. I know I'll have my own like passion projects, but like I would love to like take care of my kids.
Yeah,
and even homeschool.
And that's what I'm saying. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And the thing too is that for anybody who says that I can't fucking do that, or that's wrong for me to do, that's fucking none of their business. What I want to do with, just like how they can do whatever they want, they can pick whatever political side they want. Yeah, I can decide what the fuck I want to do with my motherfucking life. And so don't be judging me.
Yeah, and I bring it up just to show that why do I feel that way? Because of how they
highlight something deeper.
Yeah, like that it's not okay to do that anymore,
In quotes.
Or like, it makes you any less.
Well, and we know too that typically the other ideology that's saying that's not okay is coming from an indoctrinated.
That's what I'm saying.
My ideology and mindset.
That's what I'm saying,
Which too, like if we were to correlate, I don't know, have you watched the movie The Matrix?
I started watching it, but I didn't finish it.
Okay, the point is that there's like
I fall asleep during movies. So.
There's like a created reality, right? And the way that we can, so let's just say that we have a group of people that we want to control. The way that we can control the way they think is by controlling ideology. So we know that the person who is saying that that's not correct typically tends to be somebody who's indoctrinated by the common theme ideology from the media, from the school system. They're in quotes in the matrix. So that's why when people talk out against me, I don't care, because I'm like, I know that I'm speaking the truth and I'm on the side of essentially God. Really, despite religion, I'm not, obviously you know that I'm not Christian, I'm talking about God in the sense of sticking on the side of good, sticking on the side of good. So if somebody can't see clear through that, I wish them the best, but I'm going to have my ideology, and not only that, I'm going to speak out for truth no matter what, and to the end of the day, to the day I fucking die,
Yeah.
So.
Amen.
But that's just what I think too about feminism, and I get like this too because I feel like people need to feel that enthusiasm, because a lot of people, especially once again our age, aren't speaking up about stuff like this. Yeah. Another question I want to ask you too, since we're on this topic.
I just had deja vu.
Did you?
Yeah.
It's a good sign.
Yeah.
Another question that I had as well was that what are adamant features in a guy for you?
You mean like now?
Now, yeah.
This has just very recently changed, so it's difficult.
Craft the perfect guy you want. What are some of the
I wrote it down. I'm like,
perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah, because like this is new.
Why'd you write it down?
Well, because I was talking about how like after my last relationship, I feel like I'm trying to learn how to be. My last relationship, I feel like I was a lot more in my masculine energy. So ever since then, I've gotten a lot more into spirituality and have been trying to lean more into my like feminine energy.
Can I ask you a question really quick? Why were you in your masculine purpose, would you say, in that relationship?
I think we started dating when I was in high school, so I was still in my masculine. I remember I was saying I still had that masculine energy.
Right.
I hadn't found like my like femininity yet, so I think I attracted a relationship where I had to stay in that masculine energy because that's why I got there in the first place. Does that make sense?
So were you saying that how was the other pawn of the...
I'm not trying to speak. I just...
It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. But like now I'm in a place where
Put it
like...
this way, you were the more masculine.
I'd say so.
And then would you say the other one maybe feminine?
I wouldn't say like feminine in a girly sense. It's just like I felt like I took charge.
Submissive
and
or like passive.
Yeah, more passive.
Definitely.
More passive for sure. And like I was like, I think because we have very protective parents, I was like the protective one, which is masculine energy,
Yeah.
it's funny because like I was a protected one, but I would ask for protection.
I
Like
get
I want you to
It's
protect
because that's
me.
your inner biology.
Yeah, my feminine
wanting to come
Yeah.
out, your femininity,
Yeah.
trying to come out.
Yeah, but in reality, I had attracted that relationship in my life when I was in my masculine energy,
course.
so that's why
Yeah.
I feel like it always stayed that way, because that's literally, I can't change, like,
Right.
you know?
Yeah,
Which is interesting too. Thing to point out is that we all evolve.
Yeah, exactly.
most definitely.
I'm so grateful that I evolved too, because I feel so much better in my feminine energy. But I think that, because you were asking me,
What are certain like pillars that are in a man that you need or like that?
Freckles.
the
Moles. Kidding.
I'm talking about like more of
so
like
I said like this.
purpose things.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest thing is protection. I want to feel protected.
Mm-hmm.
I want to feel safe. You know. Trying to think. It's hard.
Is it important for you for the guy to provide?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying now that I'm like, I do definitely think that I'm gonna want to be a stay-at-home mom. I'll
Mhm.
probably have a way to make my own money,
Right.
own money in like a creative sense.
Yeah.
But
I
in the
agree.
ideal world, like I would want, to be provided for and be able to be the one to take care of them. I want
Yeah.
to be the one that when they come home to cook for them and all that stuff,
Yeah,
but then
you
provide
provide-
financially.
Yeah, you provide in that way.
Yeah, provide in a different way.
Not be the main breadwinner in this instance.
I mean, I think it's possible for me to make a lot of money in whatever
Sure.
creative stance I have, because
Sure.
I feel like I'm really creative. But yeah, not the main like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
your
want
goal
them-
isn't to be the breadwinner.
Yeah, or
per
just
se.
Let
yeah.
me-
I want
lem-
them to be the one that wants to provide. I want them to want to provide for me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Let me ask you this. Let's just say that in a hypothetical world,
Mm.
which I feel like more than likely will end up happening in regards to your income, but let's just say that you were to make 250K, 500K a year,
Yeah.
but your guy, he's just a minimum wage guy. I don't know what he's 15 an hour in California.
I just don't see
Chipotle.
that happening.
Let's just say he's making 28,000, 35,000 a year, but you're cranking in 250 to 500.
Yeah.
Variations on a
I
yearly
won't.
basis.
Then I won't want to take care of them because I'm gonna be making all the money.
Well,
So all my energy will be going to making money and
Well,
not.
okay, let me ask you this too. Let's just say it's more I wouldn't say passive. You still have, it's more like maybe
Oh, you're saying that like somehow I find a way to be like abundant and like make a lot of money without having to like break my back.
I mean, but yeah, I'm not talking about you're out cranking and like
Oh.
digging ditches and stuff. I'm just saying like in a business essence, you create
Yeah.
something and it ends up
like a
being
life coach or something.
life coach and stuff like that, where now
Yeah.
you're making 250 to 500K a year,
Mm-hmm.
but your man is making 50,000. Would you say that's okay?
I don't. It's not really about the money. It's more about the fact that I want them to want to provide for me.
Yeah.
So I want them. I would hope that I would want a man that would go out of his way to want to, at least equivalent or something, or in other ways. I don't know, like like make up for that. I don't know.
No, yeah, I know, I get it, I understand. I'm just curious because with me, I'll tell you this, with me, is that if my girl was making more money than
You
me,
wouldn't be
she
happy.
wouldn't be making more money than me for a long time. I'll tell you that.
Mm.
I'm figuring out how to 4x
So
whatever
you
her
feel like
income
you'd be
is.
in competition, like
Yeah, I mean, what the fuck, you know? But
yeah, but that's because you're really far into your masculine energy. So I guess then that's probably I wouldn't want to make them more. I'd want them to want to provide for me.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day,
So-
that's how they have to feel. Then sure.
So what would you say that that's important for you to have the man making more money than you?
I guess like
Because
that's
doesn't
what,
it kind of feel like if you're making more money, it's like it makes you the provider?
Your mama?
yeah, I guess.
Yeah, to the guy.
But that's what
yeah.
I'm saying. It's not about the money. It's more about the drive of wanting to provide.
Yeah.
So like I guess I'd
I can
want
see
them
that.
to
I
have,
think what she's trying to highlight is that the fact that if this guy's making 20,000 a year, 30,000 a year, and he's okay,
yeah,
he has no ambition.
that's not okay.
Because you know why? Ambition's really important
yes
for feminine attraction. If you
Mhm.
want to attract females, you have to be ambitious.
yeah
Goals, go for goals.
yeah.
Basically, go for something bigger,
Yeah.
advance yourself, get to your highest version of yourself.
Yeah. And also another thing too, you guys reminded me, another thing is for guys to have discipline, because guys like to say that, like, I know guys are dogs, but to have self-control.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like, I'm out here breaking, like, if I'm going to provide for you and care for you, you better have fucking self-control.
Yeah.
And how you, in regards to, like, other women and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
that's
that's
respect.
huge. Yeah, like, I know I see myself as a very special person, so I should be absolutely treated with respect,
Most
as I
definitely.
would do that too.
I see
Yeah.
it the same way.
Yeah. That's a huge, absolutely so big for me.
Yeah. I was gonna say too.
How do you feel about that?
with
What she
what?
said.
In what regards?
Like, do you agree, disagree?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, I think too, like, with any woman, especially with you, that this is what I think. This is just my opinion. If I were to pick an ideal guy for you, would be some guy who's a breadwinner for sure. Like some guy who's cooking up some shit, business. This is my opinion, but you can see it's a reflection of me too.
Yeah.
But it's because I want the best version for you, the highest value man possible, because just like you're saying, you're special, so you deserve that. So the thing though, what's difficult is that in today's world, in our generation, who do we really know that's like on their shit?
Yeah.
How we're, like, it seems like as though 99% of men in our generation are on the rat race shit.
Yeah, I think we chalk it up to being like young, you know. I
could say I could see that. However,
I feel like you have kind of a head start.
Yeah, I could say potentially. However, at the same time, not necessarily, because there's a lot of, I feel like in the prior generations, men were more men quicker.
Yeah, I guess.
Now men are more prolonged because of, I think, technology. It's made them more weak and more like stale or
society things.
You know,
indoctrination.
Do you think it's okay, like, say they don't have it all now, but they have the drive to want it eventually?
Of course. For sure. Yeah, you need the ambition.
Yeah.
You need the ambition. But another important thing, too, that I wasn't mentioned. What were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to, because remember I don't want to expose you and what you want.
No, say what you say.
Expose them.
But you were talking about how you kind of want a woman that is there from the start.
Yeah.
So, like, I would be okay with that, like, being there from the start before they're rich,
right?
you know?
Because you see the ambition, you see that they're going towards somewhere.
I'm okay with, like, they don't have to, like, it's not like I'm not looking for someone who's already rich. Like, but as, like you said, as long as they have the ambition and drive for, like, wanting bigger things in life. Because that's what I want, big things in life. So I want them to also want big things. I don't want to have to force nobody
to
coach
them up to be ambitious.
Yeah, or I don't want them holding me back. Like, I want all these things. I'm going to be this, I'm going to be this. And, like, really? Like, that's not realistic.
I just want to watch football.
I don't want that. That is not what I want. I want someone who wants and knows that we are going to have really big things in
It's
life.
not even a question. We are. No matter what's going to fucking happen, we're figuring this shit out.
Yeah, eventually,
So if you want to just be chilling and clock in and clock out, it's not going to work out.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Real quick, what I was asking you right now is, what is your opinion about what she said about men need to have self-control?
Oh, yeah, that's definitely a huge thing.
Like,
I mean,
in the sense that if she's being loyal in a relationship, that she should be treated special in the sense of not looking at other women, not...
there's two ways that I think that it just kind of depends on the man's mindset. Now, I think that for me personally, I think it's important to be committed in a relationship with a woman. Now, the reason why I think that is because for me personally, and I'll tell you what you already know what my mindset was before, and we'll go over it, is that I think it's important for the man to have a committed relationship so he can focus and he's not just sexually charged all the time. Because, I mean, especially as a younger man, you're like, you're fucking looking everywhere, you know?
I feel so sorry for guys.
So
sometimes.
It's like you see an attractive woman. That's how I am.
I told you that male life isn't easy.
I go out and I get food and I'm like, you know, if I see an attractive woman, not like that.
Oh, okay, my bad.
I'm not like thirsty. I'm controlling myself. What?
She said that's me.
Oh, yeah.
I just exposed myself.
Yeah. I mean, with me, 100%, I have 1,000% self-control. Right. And, like, with me, I'm not coming at it from a dog aspect. I'm coming from, like, when I would approach a woman, it's coming from, like, you know, is she a potential mate?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Versus, like, I'm just trying to, like, have sex with her, you know? But I think, though, at the same time, and I think it's super important for the man, this is, once again, just my opinion, based from my perspective now, it may change in the future. But just because the way that we were raised, my main focus is developing a family, and that's all I care about. Yeah. And I'm gonna get a wife, and I'm gonna get a wife who's gonna be the child to my kids. You know,
mom.
So
mom.
What
about looking at other women or giving women other attention?
All right.
Because I know that's what you're highlighting, right, Alyssa? About men need to have self-control.
Yes.
I mean, it's important for, like, for example, if I have a business partner, and my business partner he's married, and I've met his wife, I've met his kids, you know, and he has a whole entire life with his family, and he's dedicated, he's a religious man or whatever the case may be, but we're hanging out and we're getting lunch, and this guy's staring at other women, getting girls' numbers and shit, it's going to make me not trust you whatsoever, because I'm like, you have no fucking discipline, and you're out
how
here
you
being...
do one thing is how you
do everything. So you're being promiscuous around your wife's back, and you got fucking kids? Come on, man.
Yeah.
And what does that make me think? What does that make me think about me and us doing business?
Well, and what does that say about their value? Why is it that they need to do that?
So does it make sense too for me as a businessman to be in a business relationship with this man? You know, because this guy can go out and fuck me behind my back, backstab me without me knowing, because based on his patterns. Because literally, fact that how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yeah.
So, but on the contrary, though, I think especially for the younger men, I mean, if you were to ask me this question fucking 2 years ago, I would say that it's okay for men to have multiple women. Like, you can date and you can have one girlfriend, you can have 3 girlfriends, you can have 5 girlfriends, because the way that men and women see things are completely different.
Right.
Like, for example, women are emotionally committed to the man, and it correlates with biology, because she gets pregnant with the kid and is pregnant for 9 months, and she has she has to nurture the kid, whereas a guy just spreads his seed everywhere. So on a biological basis, if we're to look at it and apply that to relationships, that's why I say it's okay for a man to have multiple women, because biologically he's in alignment by just trying to spread his seed everywhere. So that was me prior.
That's like the
barbaric,
the human experience
like
version of
like
that.
the animal
not the higher
animalistic
conscious
nature.
Yeah.
It's the basis of our animalistic
human
selves.
like body and like
flesh.
So and that's what I think too. Like that's where it goes into the discipline aspect. Being able to dedicate yourself to one woman is important, because it puts you back to your higher consciousness.
So when did it change, and what did it change?
I mean, it did, yes.
And when did it change, and what made it change?
I would say that my purpose changed in regards to women, because I think that originally when I had that ideology and that mindset, it's because I was like just hurt from past relationships. So I was like, fuck it, dude.
I need a flock of them.
A bitch, you know?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny too, because I was thinking about this the other day, that you tend to find that the guys who are like super closed off are the ones who are like super heartfelt, like loving.
Yeah.
And like the honest truth is that back then, I mean, not anymore, because I'm realistic as fuck, but back then when I was naive in relationships, I was like a hopeless romantic. Like, I wanted to like the Disney Channel.
Yeah.
I think every man does.
Yeah.
I think
Women
every
do
man growing
too.
up does. No, I don't know about that.
I did.
I don't know about
I can only
that.
speak for myself.
I think if that's the case, it's very rare. But I think as soon as a man starts giving the woman all these things and starts putting her on a pedestal, boom, it's automatically you're valuing her too much, and subconsciously it tends to push her away.
That's the thing. It's different. It's like the provider energy versus like desperate energy. Desperate energy is like, ooh.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When you're like, oh baby, like you're everything to me. Like, it
That's
just
not bad.
No. Yes.
I don't know.
Have that shit. Hear that shit every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Okay.
And this guy's supplicating you every day.
I think there's a difference
I
though.
can't live without
They have
you.
to have
That's part of the worst thing you can say.
Shake me off my ankle. Get off my ankle.
I don't want to be told that I need you like that. Like, subconsciously, I was like,
why do you think?
Well, I can say this too, is that
you
women
don't need me.
women have the ability to think more in abundance, where a guy's typical mentality is that he's just looking to get whatever he can. So when he begins to hold on to one woman too much, and the woman knows, whether consciously or subconsciously, that she can get with really any man that she wants, then it's going to make the woman unattracted, because it's like, if this guy's giving off these low value,
like
desperate, you know, that I'm the only one that he can get, I think subconsciously it communicates to the woman that she's with a low value man.
Well, I think, that's the thing, is like, words of affirmation are good. Like, I think that's good, but as long as they have like their own life and they're driven for other things, I'm not their whole life. That's when it becomes an issue, because that's like, oh, I'm your happiness, and like it's like desperate energy.
What is she highlighting?
Yeah, and that's how I used to be like in high school, dude. Like, I even remember
like,
one relationship.
Everything.
Why do you think that is though, Alyssa?
But let me just say this too. The reason why was because the way that I am is very loyal. So I'm like, dude, I'm through thick and thin. So that's my mentality going into the relationship. So I never even said anything like, you're my everything and I absolutely need you. But I'm sure it came off in my energy in regards to me being like, I'm absolutely dedicated to this girl. Yeah. And when it ended up turning around, turned backfired on me, where it was literally, I remember her telling me like that, not to do that. And I was literally like cognitive dissonance, shocked. Like, what the
you don't want me?
I was so confused, but obviously it's because the naive young man, you know.
Yeah. Plus, she was. I mean, we're talking high school, so immature people.
Yeah,
like, we don't know what we want.
And I was immature too, you know. Yeah. And it's so funny because and a lot of these past relationships, they ingrain certain habits in you. So the thing too is that when you go and you start speaking out to new, like you start dating again, these insecurities come up again.
Yeah.
So that's why I like going out and I like dating, is because of that, because I like to feel these insecurities so I can work through them and figure it out. You know, insecurities that I don't like typically have.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
like,
interesting to be like, whoa,
why the fuck do I feel like this? I don't normally feel like this. You know. And it's funny because this has happened to me recently, where I don't know if we talked about this in another podcast already. We talk about this shit outside the podcast, so maybe that's why. But I've tend to find like recently dating that there's certain like old triggerings that are happening inside of me, you know. And I understand too, like before, I think maybe I would blame the other woman, like, oh, it's her, you know, this and that. But I know that as a man, it's my duty to like uphold a certain like standard inside the relationship. And I tend to find myself, I found myself getting into old habits, like wanting to call certain people up. And I was so confused, like, why do I want to call this person up? Why? But it's because I realized going back that it was due to a certain habit that was established, what we call kind of, we talked about the engram, but certain high emotional states that are correlated with, I remember like getting my heart broken, like again, you know, and it was when I was on the phone call, you know, with a particular person. So that's why when I felt that feeling again to give that call, I was asking myself, where is this? What's going on, bro? You know? And that's the interesting part about doing a lot of this stuff is that you do the soul searching, because what I've realized is that to truly attract the woman of my dreams, I have to make sure that I have the door wide open for that to happen. But if I have all these blockages within me, I'm not going to, she can walk right in the room. She can walk right in the room and I won't know how to hold it down, you know? So by me dating and me talking with more and more women, it allows me to kind of unclog the system, you know? Which is a really good feeling, because for me, this has been something that I've pushed to the side for like 4 or 5 years. Like, I got hella hurt and was like, fucking just turned the other way, you know? And it was like, I'm just going to go on my purpose all the way, which is good. And that's another thing I want to say too, is that, it's extremely important that a man is ambitious, but it can't be ambitious for a woman. The man has to be ambitious for himself, for his own purpose.
And then that'll attract women.
And that will naturally attract women.
Sure.
And that's why, too, money and women is only a byproduct of who the fuck you are. So if you're trying to do it for the money, or you're trying to do it just for the women, you're never going to get it. Because you won't be happy because you're looking for that validation. You're looking for the woman to validate you.
Not your own validation.
Yes, and that's when I found out, I guess there's this thing called like attachment styles with like when you go
Anxious
out and you date,
avoidant.
which is really interesting. And what tends to happen is that if you're unaware of these things, you're actually looking and you're seeking for validation in a partnership versus like them adding some value to your life. Your main focus is feeling wanted. You know what I'm saying? So that's why there's certain, when you go out and you date, you have to bring awareness to this, because I guarantee you, the man and the woman are both feeling this way. They have, both the man and the woman have insecurities. So I think it's important for me specifically, and for everybody who's dating, to bring awareness to these things, because it's important that both partners, you know, I want my woman to know that she needs to consciously be aware of these things, and know that I'm also working on these things as well. So when they come up, we can like
figure it out,
you know? But it's so interesting, because this has been like only something that's been recently open to me again. And it's cool because I got to work through these things, more it's subconscious work. It's super fun. It's super fun because, you know, and I was even thinking about, I randomly went on Snapchat, right? And I seen like old videos of me with my ex-girlfriends from when I was younger, but it was like live in that moment. And I was like just thinking about how different I thought then. And that like, without me consciously seeing that video, what happened was that brought up more to my conscious awareness that I was a different person then. And that thinking back in my memories, it makes me feel like right now that I'm that same person back then, just thinking now, but I'm not whatsoever. So that means that it helps me bring more understanding to that situation, that I was a different person, that now going forward, I'm way different. I've learned so many more things from so many different experiences, that I'm a different man now, you know? And moving forward, I have that capability of attracting what the fuck I want, you know, whatever woman I please, you know? And I think it's important for anybody to know that you can attract the person that you want, whether it's a woman trying to attract a man or a man trying to attract a woman, you know? And I think, too, another thing that I'm currently doing as well is I'm really discovering what are these things. Like, I heard this one, she's like a relationship coach, and she was talking about how you have to know one important thing, especially for the man, because the man's typically in their masculine. They don't like feelings and emotions. They're more logical, linear, they call it, right? So one thing, it's important for the man. It's important for the man to ask himself, how do I want to feel with a woman? You know, for in the most ideal situation, how do I want the woman to make me feel? You know, versus like seeking for validation. You know, I want to, I don't know, want to hook up with a girl because it's going to make me feel like she wants me. You know, but it's because you're really insecure. You're focusing on the wrong thing. So when you're going out and you're dating, you're not going to get the results you want. You have to really do the soul searching or the deep perspective work.
What do I really want?
What do I really
want? Things that you want.
For me personally, and I'm curious of what you think too, is that for me personally, for a woman, it's super important that she has some interest in intellectual things. Like wanting to work on herself,
You have to
soul
have
searching.
intellectual intimacy.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Massively, for me,
Yeah.
massively
Otherwise
important. Yeah, for real. I can't, like, if it's just like this NPC talk, I just can't.
I can't.
I just can't.
I want to have deep conversations 24/7.
Yes, me too. That's what I'm saying. Everywhere I go, it's a podcast,
Yeah.
you know? And then like I mean, that's why to me it's important to find that woman who is deeper, thinks deeply.
Yeah.
However, maybe this is a limiting belief as I'm speaking it out loud, but I realize as I'm speaking it out loud, but I feel as though maybe there's not as many women who are like on that shit. You know, they're more about turning up and going to the club and partying.
There are, I guess that's, the lack mindset.
Come on, man. No, that's real though. That's true.
Nah,
It is. It is
it-
coming from a non-abundance mindset.
Yeah,
you know.
you just haven't met a lot of girls so far.
Well, and it's like
But-
ask yourself too, where do I need to go to meet these women I'm looking for? So
Yeah.
real question to ask me is that where do these women congregate? You know, and
Mhm.
put myself in that position to be around.
I wouldn't
them.
even know where to tell you.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I'm gonna figure it out.
I'd say spiritual girls.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Adamant.
Yeah.
Adamant.
For sure. They're really deep.
And another thing too, there's something else I was gonna say about that. But yeah, definitely having a woman who's like intellectual, but I mean, I'm not talking about Einstein.
Yeah,
doesn't need to be
no.
Einstein.
Just deep thinking.
Yeah, I can think deeper, and then when
Yeah.
I conversate, one thing too is that we're able to help each other out with certain
Mhm.
things.
Yeah.
Like I coach her up on something,
Yeah.
and she really receives the information as it gets excited, you
Yeah.
know, because she wants to learn. So
Yeah.
I'm looking for a woman who's on her journey of growing as well,
Mhm.
versus the woman who is like not, plain and simple, you
Yeah.
know. But what do you think about that too?
I agree. I mean, pretty much you just said everything.
Yeah.
There's no sense of me even. You already know with me too. I'm a deep person. That's always been my issue with certain girls is that they're too shallow. You know.
Yeah.
I'm over here speaking on deep things. You know, music.
Yeah.
Talking
poetry.
about astral projection and
Yeah, exactly. And they're like
trying to talk about drama.
talking about BBLs.
Coworkers.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, one thing too for me is that
Lip
like
fillers.
I think
Sorry.
I think that like for my preference to meeting a woman is like in person.
Mm.
So like walking up and being like, "Hey,
Yeah.
what's your name?" or
Yeah.
whatever the fuck, you know.
Yeah, like a traditional.
I wouldn't say I
that
wouldn't
your
just
approach?
no, I wouldn't just like,
Hey, what's
hey,
your
what's your name? It's some like fucking
Ashley.
yeah. Like, what do you want, bro?
Yeah, what are you talking?
No,
to
there's
me?
always like an opener, like hey, like whatever the fuck
Yeah,
in that moment.
obviously it has to be.
Gotta be a little
Yeah,
creative.
natural, you
Some
know?
guys, that's a
I
whole
know.
nother story.
What?
Well,
what-
let me ask Alyssa. Why do you think though that you said earlier that you don't want a man, you being everything to a man? Why?
Because that's desperate.
But is it? You said it's desperate.
Yeah, like that just means that they don't have any drive for themselves.
But what if they do have drive for themselves, but they put their drive is you first, but yet they have other drives too, like work, but you're over that work. You become first before the work.
Because then that means I can't be that for myself. Like
What do you
I
mean?
want to put my drive on that's I don't know his name, but does a podcast with Joe Dispenza.
Uh-huh.
And he's like he told
The Indian guy?
No, not the and he's white. But he told his wife right before he met her that you're going to be my second priority because my first priority is my purpose.
Yeah.
You know what
That's
I'm
how it's
talking
always gonna be.
Lewis, his name's like Lewis something.
No, I was saying yep to whatever he said.
Oh,
Whoever the
yeah.
guy is.
Which and I think he said that to her and like that was kind of like she accepted it and that's how he knew that was his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think that's how it should be for
Everyone.
everybody.
Yeah.
Is that you have your purpose first and then you guys are just living your
Put it
purposes
this way:
along
it's
each other.
not only what you think should be; it's literally how nature works.
Yeah.
So a male has to have their purpose number one,
Yeah.
or they'll lose the attraction for their woman. They
Yeah.
can never put their woman first over everything.
Yeah, like number one. No.
Their purpose has to come
Because
first.
the purpose provides for
And
the
women
woman.
might tell you, "I want to be number one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want it."
But that's when you need validation. That's coming from a point of I want to be validated.
But not only
Well-
that too, it's because women a lot of times are emotional and
Yeah.
they're not thinking from a logical standpoint in that moment. I'm not
Yeah.
saying always. I'm saying
no, I could see
in this
that.
particular
Yeah.
case.
Make me number one. Put
So-
me on a pedestal.
Right. So you think I'm thinking from a girl's perspective, I want to be number one. You know, I want to be number one in my man's eyes. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But at the same time, really, that's not biologically what they want. And if they
Yeah.
do get that, they'll slowly lose attraction.
That's
And the funny thing is that they're not even conscious to
It's
why
not
they're losing
conscious.
attraction. It's like, I don't know.
What's going on?
I don't know, girl. I just, I don't know. It's just not the same. There's no
Yeah.
spark. That's
Yeah.
why there's certain things like this.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to know roles, male and female, and how we can operate together.
Yeah.
Or masculine and feminine energy. Let's put it in an
Yeah.
energy, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that case, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That it would apply. But point being is that that's why it's important to know these things and
Yeah.
know gender roles too and why this is, you know,
Yeah.
so it can make more sense. And then men and women can both know specifically more of what they want.
And that's the thing I used to say too, is I wanted to be number one. And then I heard him say that, and I was like,
Put it this way, for all
That's-
men, this is something that's really helped me out. All men, your purpose has to come first,
yeah,
and you can't look at the woman as high value over yourself. You have to put yourself and your purpose first, and then she comes second. And doesn't mean that you don't value the relationship.
Yeah.
Actually, it means quite the opposite, that you
Yeah.
really value the relationship. Because women date up. They look for a man. They want to look up to a man. They don't want to look down to a man and
No.
supplicate them and be their mother.
no,
During
No.
Exactly.
we do not. That's
Exactly.
if there's one thing that'll end eventually a marriage or something, is if a woman feels like they're the mother.
Exactly.
Because
And
why
that's-
would you want to be physically attracted to someone
well,
you feel like
what
is
is
a
a
baby?
mother? A mother is an authority figure. So in
Yeah.
a sense, though, the roles reverse. The woman becomes in charge, and the man becomes supplicating to the woman. That's why it's
Yeah.
disgusting.
Yeah,
It's because
disgusting.
women look, whether they know this consciously or not, and this is something men can utilize, knowing this, is that whether they know it or not, they look up to men. They want to date a man to look up to. And that's why, metaphorically, a lot of times girls will only date a guy who's older or the same age, because it plays in those factors. And you ask them why. I don't know. I don't know. But it's because it's in their biology.
Yeah.
It's in their biology,
Yeah.
you know? And the way we can attract women is if we stay on our purpose and put our purpose first. You know what I mean? And a woman sees us looking into the distance, into our
And
aspirations.
that's like a
you know
high
what I mean?
value. Yeah. Yeah.
Because what that man is looking to where he's going to lead the family.
Yeah.
You know, lead the group, whatever you
Yeah.
want to call it.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what
So
you
these
mean.
are why these are certain important factors, you know.
Mhm.
And this is something that once I learned this, it helped me out so much better with women.
Yeah.
Period. Because
Mhm.
before I was such a nice person, you know, like heartfelt.
Good heart.
Yeah. So I was like, you know, no, you come first. Nothing comes before you.
Yeah.
You know. But then I realized I get slapped on and dumped on. You know what I mean?
Cheated
And then
on.
I'm the good guy that all the girls complain about that they never get.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Which a lot of the nice guys, that's what they say.
But I realized that's why women like the bad guy.
Your smile.
That's why.
Your smile.
Why
Your
smile?
smile made me laugh.
Why would it look
And
like?
I just so like, I don't know. What were you saying?
Come on,
Sorry.
man.
So that's why too women always date the bad guy,
Yeah.
because the bad guy's looking off into the distance,
Well, in
doing
quotes,
his own thing.
yeah, because
you
the
know?
bad guy doesn't, in quotes in this instance, the bad guy doesn't put the woman first.
and he doesn't supplicate to your opinion.
Yeah,
You know,
and
he does his own thing, and that's why women are like, "Oh my god," because he's that black stallion on his own path.
Mm-hmm.
He's not looking around. He's already on his own, and
I-
a woman loves that.
Yeah, and I think that's why they say nice guys finish last, because
'Cause
they're
they
too
do.
nice.
Yes.
They put you first for everything,
Yeah.
and then that's
It's
when it
feminine.
comes off
It's
desperate.
feminine, you know.
Yeah, it
And
comes
that's
off
why you want the
desperate.
opposite sex, is because they're different than you.
Yeah,
yeah, you seek
The
for those polarities.
You
and,
seek for those
know.
polarities.
yeah.
and that's why it's important to understand these natures, is because that's why when you go into the relationships, you can keep these in mind.
Most definitely.
So for the men, if you start being a bitch, you got to check yourself, because if
Yep.
you continue to be a bitch, your relationship's not going to
Yeah,
last.
you're gonna be a lonely bitch.
You're gonna, yeah, exactly, yeah. So it's important to reflect back on past relationships and ask yourself, at what point did I become a bitch, and analyze those moments so you
Why
can
am
learn
I a
from that.
bitch?
Yeah,
Yeah.
why am I a bitch, or why was I being bitched up at that moment? Because
Yeah.
every man goes through that, bro. You know, every man ends up bitching up at one
course.
point. You know,
Happens
but
to the best of us.
happens to the best of us.
It's just what separates us is what we do differently. Once we know that, you
Yeah.
know, do we do the same things or do we change up?
yeah, and I think too, like, it's still important to be natural to who you are. You know, because I think it's important not to like try to like learn these things to try to manipulate, you know, because that's not gonna fucking last. You're gonna try to play a role that you're truly not, but it's important to bring awareness to this, so you know that there's certain things that you shouldn't be doing, you know, and that you know that like I think it's important to be taught these things, because we were never taught growing up, like
Yeah.
the real dichotomy between men and women, you know.
Mhm.
And that's why too, with like when I get relationship advice from women, I just take it with a grain of salt, because I'm just like, I know that they're speaking from an emotional standpoint.
You take it from me too, a grain of salt?
Well, a little bit, yeah.
What?
I mean, I'll give you an example. You're saying about like to like contact the woman right away.
Oh, okay, that's it. I get it.
That's what I'm saying. I know that as the woman though, you may want that, but do you truly want that? So that's what I'm saying. Like when
I like it, man.
If she doesn't hit you up in 2 minutes, text her again.
No, not that.
Triple text.
That's too much.
Triple text.
Sometimes a double text here and there is like, but if they're always double texting, then that's different.
Well, like with me, I would say that with me, and
because that's pursuing though.
That's too much pursuing.
A double text.
That's too much
every
pursuing,
once in a
in
while?
my opinion.
Like one time, 2 times.
I mean, that's not my method.
I think I'm out doing other shit. I don't even.
Yeah, I could be double texting. I text once. You don't text back, I'm not even thinking about that thing again. You know, I'm already moving on to the next thing.
But girls like to be pursued a little bit in the beginning.
No, for sure. I think it's
the
important.
job for a man to pursue
That's
at
the
first.
That's the man's job, is to pursue, and it's a woman's job too as well, to receive and to also like abide by that as well. You know.
But if
I think 100% it's the man's job to pursue, but there's a way to go about it.
Yes, that's literally what I was about to say. It's about how you go about it. For example, like do you remember I was telling you guys the other day when I got like a DM. And it was someone that had like
some fucking grimy ass.
No, I didn't say that. I did not say that.
I said that.
But I went on a date with someone, stopped talking to them, and
hopefully they're watching this podcast too.
No, I hope not.
So you can learn shit.
He'd reply to my stories and stuff, whatever. He said something nice, so I replied to him, and then I didn't reply again. And he's like, "Why do I keep getting left on red?" And my immediate reaction was, "Ew." Just because like it's just
desperate.
It's a desperate energy.
Wait, it's because when we were talking about it in the car originally, you didn't know why you reacted that way at first.
Yeah,
but then you realized, what is it?
Yeah, it's desperate energy,
and it's disgusting.
And there was that
low value man.
Low value man.
This guy's not focused on his entrepreneurial purpose or whatever the fuck, saving the world.
I can't.
He's
say
focusing on you not replying to him.
Yeah, and why are you posting without opening his DM or whatever?
Yeah, and then that's
this guy got a lot of time on his hands.
There's that, and then there was like I've experienced a healthy way to pursue though, and that is like something I respect more versus the desperate.
Yeah,
they're pursuing, but they also got their own things. You know, like it's like a balance of that versus the why aren't you texting? Like if you're asking me why I'm not texting you, then I don't like
really
that.
quick though about the double text. You like that?
I have like that's what I'm saying.
Give me an example though. Like where
like
you would like it.
Like a real life example?
I mean, you know, it can be hypothetical.
I'm trying to think about like in the.
I think like maybe if it's like more of a rare thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's more applicable.
Yeah.
But I also think too, like if you're continuously double texting the girl, it's probably not a good thing to do.
Yeah,
but I just don't understand why that's needed.
It's not needed. I'm saying like the very, very first stage.
I mean, if you think about it, it is a little like it is the double texting thing is a little needy.
It's like
it's to me. That's why I wouldn't do it.
I think the same thing. Why aren't you replying to me? Someone double text you.
Yeah.
What I'm gonna think is that I'm doing my own thing. If she's busy too, completely cool.
Boom.
I'll give her a call tomorrow if anything. Maybe she just forgot. Cool, it is what it is. But I got my own shit to do.
I'm thinking of like a very, very specific scenario that I had lived through that I felt like it was appropriate. And it was for a long period of time that had passed.
Yeah,
and it was in the very beginning, like beginning.
I think it's important too to also mention to each their own. You know, I think.
Yeah.
Of course.
But like overall, on a general basis, in my opinion, I think that it wouldn't be a good idea for the man to continuously double text.
Yeah, not continuously, no, because you're both doing your own things.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be a really small window, in my opinion, to justify the double text.
And I think that's the window that I'm thinking of.
Let's say you text her and she's doing like a big, like let's say she's doing a test for being an esthetician, you know, and she's busy all day, and you text her in the morning, and then you text her again like, hey, I know you're busy right now, you know, doing your thing, but I just want to let you know that I'm thinking about you.
Yeah, that's good.
That's different. You know what I'm saying?
Not like, what are you doing? Why aren't you talking to me? Right. That's different. That's
but I mean, that's really a special circumstance.
Yeah,
though,
yeah.
You know?
And that's what I was kind of thinking of. But I think in most regards, it does kind of come off as the bad example. Like, why aren't you talking to me? Like, do I have to talk to you all the time? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think too.
Get a life.
I think it's important.
We both have our own lives.
The man needs to be the man needs to be operating in abundance at all times too, which is why I think it's okay. This is just my opinion. at least in the beginning of the dating phase, I think it's okay for the man to date multiple women. Like, for example, if I'm not dedicated to this girl, you know, I'm not on date number 5, you know, I'm going to be shopping around, essentially, seeing what's the best option for me.
That's how dating is supposed to work, right?
And I think, too, like, for me specifically, I'm going to be good with women until I'm, like, 55. 50.
Let's say you found someone though where you had like a strong intuition about her though.
Yeah, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
You know,
then would you still want to be dating around?
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah. So
you know, until that time comes though, you know, until I feel that way or she makes me feel that way.
Yeah.
Then that. But I also too remind myself like, dude, you're fucking 24 years old. You're working on your business. You're gonna be very wealthy. You're going to have a life of very minimal men have. So there's no need to rush. Yeah. I don't need to find the right woman right now.
She's
However,
come when it's time.
Yes, when I'm open to it whenever she does come, whether that's tomorrow or whether that's 5-10 years from now. Because I know that, number one, I'm so focused on what I'm doing with my business and running the podcast and running the business that, you know, I can't really focus on a relationship that doesn't make sense. You know, just going out and just trying to chase ass doesn't make any sense for me right now because my focus is on my purpose. However, if there's a right woman who I enjoy being with, you know, where I can feel that like that loving essence, you know, it's going to make sense for me to hang out with her. I would even say hang out to go on a date with her because I do think there's a difference between hanging out and being on a date. You know what I'm saying?
And that's all about like goes to the intent behind dating. Because like when I was like dating, everyone was like, oh, I just want something casual. So it's like you're telling me you want all the benefits of being in a relationship, but you don't want
the commitment.
How does that sound appealing for me? It doesn't, you know.
It's because that's not the type of woman that you are.
You know?
I guarantee you
that's why I got pissed because I was like, miss me with this BS.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe it's more predominant in our generation.
Welcome to the generation of weak men.
And I think maybe even prior, like, generations before, just people around our age are typically more immature and they're not coming from a mature basis, you know, which is once again goes back to where can we find a group of people that we like, you know, that are fucking mature, you know, because I'm not looking for no immature girl. I don't want fucking a girl who's like you can just tell when a girl is immature. To me that's a big turn off. You know,
same for guys.
She needs to be uphold herself the right way. You know, not be like she's fresh out of high school. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, what we'll do is we'll wrap it up. Is there anything else you guys want to say?
Yeah, I just want to say for all the men out there, get the book, The Science of Attraction.
Yeah, super good book.
Super good book. It's going to give you a basis biologically how men and women are wired and how we can attract women. But it really helped me. I already kind of had a good perspective, but it helped me really solidify the perspective that I have about how to attract the other energy.
And you know? And two, another good book is The Way of the Superior Man.
Yes.
Another good book to read as well.
It's essential for men to read those two books, you know?
For sure.
Definitely must pick up.
It teaches you more about science of attraction is more specific. Science of attraction, you'll levitate once you're done reading that book.
Exactly.
Pretty good. But
really good. I've already helped multiple men by mentioning the book and showing them certain things and them applying it. You know?
Definitely. So, is there anything else you want to say, Alyssa?
Nope. I think this podcast we talked a lot where we can. Well, I think most ones, but I feel like just being open to conversation in the comments. Like I think this is something that I feel like would be fun to like invite other people to talk about these things too. So like let us know what you think about or like your opinions about the things that we talked about today. 'Cause it's they're conversations I feel like we were saying before that people don't really have. So taking the opportunity to use the comment section to kind of like
give your opinion.
Yeah, and all the different types of opinion, not just something that you think people will agree with.
Yeah. Do you want to end because the main camera's not working anymore? Do you want to wrap it up?
Wrap it up?
Yeah. Like say thank you everybody for watching.
Oh, okay. Thank you everybody for watching and tuning in to the Road to Freedom podcast. Definitely subscribe immediately right now if you haven't.
Press the button.
And look out for our podcast because we're going to be releasing one every week. Every week we're going to be releasing one. And the momentum is going to eventually pick up. The quality is going to raise. Everything's going to get greater with this podcast. So definitely subscribe if you haven't subscribed already.
Yeah, and the podcast should be coming out every Monday, right?
Yeah, every Monday.
Every Monday, yeah. So tune in for that.
Instagrams.
My Instagram is Flip It Tyler, so add me right now too. As you're getting the book, Science of Attraction, go over to Instagram real quick, add me, Flip It Tyler. Austin, what's yours?
Camera.
What is yours, though?
Okay, well, anyways, this is a ghost in the background. Make sure to follow the Road to Freedom podcast on Instagram. So just literally look up the road to freedom, the number 2. Also remember too on YouTube to subscribe, turn on the bell notification, because the best type of content you can get is going to be through the video aspect. When you do follow us on TikTok, also you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. You get to see pre-released reels of our upcoming podcast as well. And obviously you see that we spit fire every time. So be sure to subscribe, to follow us on our Instagrams. We'll put the Instagrams in the bio. You can follow mine, Austin Lupercio. Follow Alyssa's, Alyssa Lupercio. But nonetheless,
flip it, Tyler.
The most important one is to follow the road to freedom,
Definitely.
so you guys can stay maintained with our content.
Yes,
But
sir.
until next time, guys, appreciate y'all for listening. Remember to give your guys' opinions in the comment section. I'm curious of what you guys think, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Yes, sir.
See you later.
I've been saying I was rich since I was broke. Yeah, yeah. It's a state of mind, you gotta know. Yeah, yeah. That it's gonna happen for sure. Had to take my time, take it slow. Yeah.